Hi everyone. So our ethical debate topic is on medical marijuana, and our group is for the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. The issue with this topic is that marijuana continues to be federally banned. There are patients who could be benefiting from its use, however they are unable to due to this ban. Marijuana is a Scheduled I substance. This makes it harder for patients to obtain and physicians to provide for their patients. There are currently some states that have laws and legislation in place that allow the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. The significance of this issue is that there are patients who are being deprived of all of their options for treatment of symptoms of certain diseases. Some of these diseases include AIDS, epilepsy, MS, and cancer. They can have some nasty side effects and symptoms with them, the side effects from the medication that they're being treated with, and medical marijuana has been proven by patients that it is helpful with controlling their symptoms. The Code of Ethics, Provision 5, Section 4, Paragraph 3 and 4, states that a nurse may refuse to participate in the medical marijuana treatment if they morally object to it. However, they must do so ahead of time and notify the appropriate person. In the hospital setting, this means that you come in at 3 p.m. to start your shift and someone has a treatment scheduled for 5 p.m. You must notify your charge nurse as soon as possible so he or she may arrange someone else or themselves to medicate the patient. This is following patients' wishes that they do not miss a dose of treatment and they get the marijuana as they wish, and it prevents the nurse who was assigned to that patient who morally objected to it from having to be in a situation that makes her uncomfortable. Provision 4, Section 2 of the Code of Ethics mentions how as a nurse you must allow your patient self-determination. I also interpret this as allowing your patient to make their own decisions when deemed capable. If a patient has chosen to use medical marijuana for treatment of their symptoms, you cannot interfere with that decision by that patient. You don't have to be present or administer the treatment if you're against it, but you cannot refuse to provide a treatment to a patient if no one else is able to provide it for them. You also must adhere to the standards of nursing practice when you are in situations like this. Previous efforts to resolve this issue have failed, hence that there is still a ban on marijuana in the federal government. We found several petitions that have been active in the past that have tried to get the schedule of marijuana changed from A1 to legalize it. The first petition was in 1972. This petition was around for 17 years before it was finally denied. Next, in 1995, there was a petition that was under review for 6 years before it was finally denied. And most recently, in 2011, the DEA concluded that marijuana has no medical purpose. Currently, 23 states and Washington, D.C. have laws and legislation in place that allow the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. However, the federal government who oversees those states as a larger government body still has it illegal. There are 7 states that currently have pending legislation to legalize marijuana for medicinal purposes. We need to change the schedule of marijuana to make it more accessible to patients and easier for physicians to prescribe. This could also lift the federal ban on marijuana. Past efforts have not been successful, hence, again, it continues to still be illegal on government grounds or government standards. And also there's a lack of funding for the National Institute of Health in doing research and gathering information on the benefits of marijuana for medical purposes. If we are able to get more facts in our fight to legalize marijuana and evidence-based scenarios to take and include in our petition, it might help us win this case. The stakeholders in this issue are, number 1, patients who could be benefiting from the use of medical marijuana, but they are being deprived from that due to the legality of it, and producers and providers of cannabis. This can be a financial income for many people, and in other words, a business, to where this would be a person's main income. Also, the states can tax it, making money as they tax everything else as well. The solution that we propose is that marijuana be treated as an herbal medication. Currently, there is a stigma that marijuana is an illegal drug that is used on the streets, that people get high. However, people don't understand the benefits that it can have on patients to help alleviate their symptoms. If we change the schedule of marijuana and the classification to make it a herbal medication, the stigma might be decreased. Allowing patients safe and regulated access to the marijuana is also very important. Once it has become legal, they need to be able to have access to it. This would mean that pharmacies would need to stock it and dispense it, and that the physicians would be able to provide refills as needed. Alternatives to our proposed solution would of course be funding the National Institute of Health for their research and helping come up with different ways and lots of information that benefit our argument that marijuana should be legal for medicinal purposes. This research could also include looking into alternate forms of marijuana for medical purposes. Currently, the states that have marijuana legalized for medical purposes is only available in a pill form. This is not ideal for all patients. For example, cancer patients who have nausea and vomiting are not able to keep a pill form down. By funding for this research, we can come up with an argument to make the medical marijuana use more available to patients by, say, offering it in a patch, offering it nasally, or a sublingual dissolvent. We would need to monitor patient outcomes and relief of symptoms. We would want to make sure that the patients are experiencing the intended outcome and that they're not having further complications from the use of the marijuana. We also need the FDA to be active and involved in regulating the amount of THC and other substances that is included in this medical marijuana, while keeping patient safety as the #1 priority. Healthcare providers can monitor the effectiveness by having routine checkups with their patients. They can have somewhat of a control over this by only offering a patient a certain amount of refills or quantity of the medication before requiring them to come in for a revisit to be reevaluated. If they don't come in, then you can always refuse to refill the medication. This is a good opportunity to get the physician one-on-one with the patient to assess them and see how it is affecting them. Success of this solution can, of course, be evaluated by the patient outcome. If we are prescribing medical marijuana, say to a cancer patient to help relieve their pain, we want to make sure that their pain has decreased since initiating the treatment of the medical marijuana. And again, keeping the FDA involved in the combination and the amount of medications that is used to make the medical marijuana. As long as our patients have a positive and expected outcome, medical marijuana can be very beneficial to people who are suffering from side effects of the medications that they are currently taking to treat their diseases. So we are for medical marijuana for medicinal purposes. Thank you for being.